Hi, Molly here. I've had some requests to do a video on how I made the covers for the N95 face mask that a lot of the healthcare providers are using right now. Unless these masks are soiled or contaminated, they might get used for a little bit more of an extended time than they would normally use right now with the virus going around. These are kind of in short supply, though it's getting better with getting shipments of them. But this is just a cover to keep them a little bit cleaner, okay, for an extended use. All right. Now this is a pattern from KAMsnaps.com. You can go check it out and download the whole pattern. It's how to make a face mask for N95 cover, and they can give you all the measurements if you missed anything here. And you'll be making a pleater and then the fabric pattern. So right now I'm going to show you how to make the pleater. This is a pleater that's used to make the pleats in the face mask. It just makes it a little bit easier than pinning it and measuring and folding everything. This is a nice guide to use, and it's very simple to make, and it makes things go along a lot faster. So I'm going to show you how to make that. What you're going to need is some cardboard. Okay, like a cereal box works great for this. That's what I used here, but index or any kind of thinner cardboard is wonderful. You're going to need some tape, masking or painter's tape, scissors, pen, and a ruler. Okay, so let's get started. So what I did was cut a piece of cardboard 7 inches by 4.5 inches. Okay, then I cut 3 more pieces that were 1/2 inch by 7 inches, and these are going to be your pleater fins, I guess they're called. Okay, then from the bottom of your cardboard, I marked on my cardboard top of the mask, bottom, top, bottom. We're going to measure from the bottom up 1.5 inches and draw a line. So from your bottom up, measure 1.5 inches and draw a line across. That's going to be our guide for where our first pleater fin is going to go. These are very simple to make. They are very much a time saver. So we're going to take our first piece of 1/2 inch by 7 inch and lay it right at the edge of it, right on that line. Okay, I put it below the line towards the bottom. Okay, we're going to grab our piece of tape. Painter's tape, masking tape, scotch tape, whatever you got. Okay, we're going to line it right up there. Make sure that the edges are flush. And we're going to tape that down. Tape the first fin down. Okay. Make a little crease there. Okay. Now I'm doing it vertically, but this is how it would look. Okay. So let's do the next one. We're going to make a measurement for the next fin. And what you're going to do is flip the fin up like this. Okay. Now I just used the thickness of my ruler. I laid the ruler there, and I grabbed my pen and I just made another line for the next fin to lay. This is 1/8 of an inch measurement from here to here. So if you want to just measure with your ruler, that's okay too. All right, this is just a little bit faster, and I happen to have a ruler that's the thickness that I need. So I'm going to grab my next fin. I'm going to place it right on that line that I just made. That was 1/8 of an inch from the flip down top of the fin. Okay, and I'm going to take that down. You can hear my dog there. There you go. I have the fan going in my sewing room because my sewing room is right over the wood stove, and it gets very hot in here. So have the fan going, and Amigo's really enjoying that. Okay, so there's 2 fins taped on. So we're going to then make sure this is out of the way. We're going to flip this down then again and place the ruler, bump it right up against that fin that we laid down, and make another mark. Again, you can measure 1/8 of an inch if you like, whatever's easiest for you. Get our length of masking tape, painter's tape. And I have to thank my friend Kim for this big roll of painter's tape. It's invaluable when you are a sewer or an embroiderer, and obviously I'm using it for this, so it's wonderful. And you want to tape that last fin down. Okay, so now you're going to have 3 fins like so. You're going to have more space at the top and less space at the bottom. That's okay. Now we're going to tape this side down. Give her another length of tape there and just tape the other side of that fin down. So you're going to have tape on both sides. Make sure you're not taping the fin next to it down because you want them to be standing up. All the fins got to be standing up. And we'll that. There we go. Okay, so now we have 3 fins like this. Okay, just like so. Push them down. We'll trim that tape off. I have an old rotary cutter that I use here just for paper and things like that. Trim that up. Clean that up. Okay, and now we have our pleater made. Next, I'm going to show you about the length of fabric we need, and then I'm going to go on to show you how to use this pleater, make ties, and sew it all together. Once you get the hang of it, you can make one of these in about 15 minutes. Everything I do is in an assembly line, so it works out fast that way. But let me go get my fabric, and I'll get back with you. Okay, I'm back. I prepared my fabric. I am using a piece of fabric for one mask, 8 by 15 inches. Okay, so you want to cut your fabric 8 by 15. You want to use a good quality quilter's cotton, 100% cotton, something with a tight weave, and you also want this to be new fabric. People are going to be wearing it on their face, so make sure that it's new fabric. I do pre-wash my fabrics just because once they're sanitized, I still want them to be the same size. So I want to take that shrink out before I make it. I also use a non-scent detergent. If at all possible you have that. If you don't, then make sure you put your washing machine on an extra rinse cycle and use a minimal amount of detergent, because the reason for washing them is really just to take away that little bit of a shrinkage. Okay, so when they are washed, that they remain the same size. So get your fabric cut 8 inches by 15 inches. Okay, good quality quilter's cotton. Okay, next thing we're going to do is we're going to fold this in half, raw edges together. Okay. We're going to match up the raw edges, and we're going to sew 1/4 inch seam right up the raw edges here, not on the fold. 1/4 inch. I'm going to sew these 2 raw edges together, 1/4 inch. So I'm going to go do that, and I'll be right back to show you. Okay, I am back from the sewing machine. I've run a 1/4 inch stitch up the side, joining my 2 raw edges to make a seam like this. Now I'm going to take my piece of fabric and open it up, and you'll see it's a tube. Okay, so we're going to push it down a little bit and take our seam and just, you can finger press it if you like. I will take it over to the iron and probably press it again. I want to press that seam to one side. It just makes the next process a little bit easier, and we turn it right side out. I'm going to turn it right side out and make a tube. Okay, I'm going to find that seam, okay, and kind of pinch it in your fingers a little bit there so we can make a nice crease on it. So I have it pinched between my 2 fingers, and I'm going to finger press it down, but I will take it to the iron and press everything flat. Seam on one side, fold on the other, press it nice and flat. And I'm going to go do that. I'll be right back. Okay, I'm back. And I've pressed everything flat. And I have my pleater here, and I have some clips that we use for sewing. If you don't have these clips, you can use binder clips, little binder clips, or you can use just about anything that you can clip the fabric together. Even those little flat hair clips that people use, those will work as well too. All right, so we're going to take the top of our pleater, and as you can see, the fabric is wider than the pleater. That's for a reason. I'm going to show you in a bit. But what we're going to want to do is, if you have directional fabric, this is directional. Okay. Face down is going to be the front of the mask. So whatever direction your fabric is going in, say you have a picture of a truck on here, if you have a picture of a truck on here or something like that, you're going to want it to be top, matching top, face down, okay? So that when you wear the mask, the truck won't be upside down. If it was a little fire truck or something you had on there, or whatever you had. Okay, and we are going to clip it centered on the pleater. There'll be a 1/2 inch of fabric sticking out on either side. Get as close as possible. You're just going for having that fabric overlap the pleater. So when you flip it over, you're going to have 1/2 inch of fabric on either side. So I'm going to clip 3 clips on that. And the side that is going to be clipped to the top will be the fold. The seam is always going to be at the bottom. Okay? So we're going to have the seam at the bottom, fold at the top. Let me zoom in a little bit here so you can see a little bit better of what I'm doing when I put it on the pleater. So I want all my fins to be pushed downward towards the bottom. Lay my fabric down, and I'm going to feel for the top of that first pleater fin, and I'm going to grab it just like that. As you can see, I have the fabric laid down on either side of the fin. Take my first clip, give her a clip. Put a few clips in there. Okay. Then I'm going to push that back and feel for the bottom of my next fin there. Do the same thing, as you can see. I like to stagger the clips so they don't fall on top of each other. Okay, and then we're going to do the same thing. Find the edge of that bottom of that fin, grab the fin, okay, and you are going to pin that one too. Now the fabric should come to the bottom edge here. Okay, if it's like this, it's probably off somewhere and you need to go back and redo it. It shouldn't be up like this when you get all the fins. It should be pretty much just kind of hitting on there. Okay, so this is what you're going to have. Your top is going to have a little bit more space than your bottom. That would be correct. Your fold is at the top, your seam is at the bottom. You're going to have a 1/2 inch on either side, and that would be correct. And the reason we do that is we're going to be sewing an 1/8 inch seam on either side. We're going to take the top again and push the fins down, and you are going to sew an 1/8 inch downward right along here just to hold the fins down. Doesn't have to be perfect, it's just a basting stitch. You're going to be sewing 1/8 inch on either side. So let's go do that, and I'll be right back. Okay, I'm back from the sewing machine, and I have sewn 1/8 of an inch right down the sides here, just a basting stitch. The reason we do a 1/8 of an inch is our binding is going to cover this, and the binding is going to be just a hair over 1/4 of an inch, and we want to cover that stitching right there. I'm going to pull my clips off. Oops. And take the pleater off. This side. And now we have our pleats. You can see nice pleats made. Okay. Trim up your threads. Okay. I like to trim as I go. But as you can see, when we sewed, our top is wider up here than our bottom, and we sewed the fins so they're going downward. So you want to sew the fins in a downward way. Okay. Next thing we're going to do is show you how to make the binding that goes on the sides. So I'll be right back with some fabric to show you that. Okay, I am back. I have my fabric prepared to some extent for making my ties, okay, for the ties that are going to go around the head and the neck. And for each tie on each mask, you're going to need 2 inches width of fabric. And I'm going to bring that in a little bit so you can read that. Each side is 2 inches wide by 40 inches long. So for each mask, you're going to need 4 inches by 40 inches of fabric. Now, if you're making a lot of these, I'm going to show you a way to make a whole bunch of them. It makes it much easier than doing 2-inch strips at a time. So let me show you that. So get yourself some good quality quilter's cotton. White is always nice because it goes with all your masks. And you're going to want to cut at least, I would say, 4 to 6 inches wide, so give it a little square and up room by 40 inches of fabric. Okay, we zoom out again here. Okay, so I'm not sure how long my fabric is here. Let's take a look. It's 19 inches. Okay. So I'm going to get about, I don't know. We're going to go 2 inches, 2 inches, 2 inches, 2 inches, 2 inches. That's how we're going to cut it. But the first thing we're going to do is find the selvage on the fabric. So here's my fold up on this end. Okay. And this is the edge of the fabric. If it's coming off the bolt, okay, if it comes off the bolt, all right, you're going to have the edge, your salvage edge, okay. I guess it'd actually be this way. Sorry about that. It's actually going to be folded that way, and you're going to have your edge of your fabric. Okay. I guess that's right. But anyway, find your selvage edge. It's usually this really woven part of the fabric on the edge. Okay? And you're going to trim off 1 inch of that. Okay, so find your selvage. Kind of square up your fabric a little bit. All right, let me get my big ruler for that. And I'm going to trim off about 1 inch of that just to clean it up, make it nice and neat on the edge. Okay. Get that off there. Now I'm going to take the edge of my selvage, okay, and open it up, and I'm going to hem in 1/4 of an inch. Okay, on that selvage on either side. Let me zoom in a little bit. So we're going to be hemming in about 1/4 of an inch all along here and then all along here. Your fold is back here. Okay, we're going to be hemming the selvage side. So I'm going to go do that and I'll be right back. Okay, so I am back and I have sewn my 1/4 inch seam on my selvage edge, and I made sure that the seam is going on the same side of the fabric. You don't want this seam to be on the bottom of the fabric and this seam to be on the top. You want them to be on the same side of the fabric. As you can see, they're on the same side. Okay, and I have ironed my fabric flat, ironed a crease in the fold here, and then I folded it again towards the selvage. Okay, lined it up, and I did another crease in it with the iron. This way it gives you a shorter length that you're going to have to cut when we're cutting these strips. So this is our 20 inch on each side of this. If I were to open this up, it'd be 40 inches, this fabric. If I were to open it all the way up, it'd be 40 inches. Okay. So we are going to cut from the folded side to the selvage. We're going to cut strips like this. Okay. So we're going to do that. But I'm going to fold it again just to make it a little bit easier to deal with when you're cutting the strips. You have a big piece of fabric to deal with. So I'm spinning it around and I'm going to line it up on my board for cutting. Okay, line it up here. So again, there's my fold that's at the top. There's my selvage. Folding it down. These are my hemmed pieces down here, the ends of my ties. You want to be cutting end of the tie up to fold. And we're going to be cutting 2-inch strips. You're going to need 2-inch strips for each tie. So let's go ahead and do that. Cutting from hem selvage end up to fold, 2-inch strips. Now you can use your ruler for this. I just always like to use my cutting mat as a measurement. And the reason that we sew a hem on that selvage end is to finish off the tie ends, so we're not tucking it in when we're doing our binding. They're already hemmed at the bottom, so when you fold it, that's already hemmed up and it's out of the way. So I'm going to make just a bunch of ties. It's easier to cut when you have a whole chunk of fabric than it is to try and cut a 2-inch strip out of some small piece of fabric. So if you think you want to make a few more of these, just grab yourself a length of fabric, and the fabric has to be 40 inches long. Because these ties, each tie is 40 inches long. So there we go. Last ones and the last 2-inch strip there. Okay, so we have all our strips here. And as you can see, here's our strip and here's our finished ends of the ties. Okay, let me close up for you on that. Okay, you can see there's our little hem right in there. Okay, that's the end of our ties, and they are 40 inches long. All right, next I'm going to take them over to the iron, and with the hem side facing up, make sure that you can see what I'm doing here. Move my camera over a little bit. Do a little readjusting here. Okay. Okay. So the next thing we're going to do to make those, this is going to be a straight grain binding because we didn't cut it on the bias. I'm doing it this way to conserve fabric right now since you can't get to the fabric store and get a lot of fabric. So normally a bias binding would be so much better, but I'm doing straight grain right now. So we're going to take that over to the iron and we're going to fold it and press it. Fold it all the way down. If you have those little things that make make a binding, those little clips for the iron, that's great. I do have them, but I find this just to be a lot faster actually. But you can use those as well, or any way that you make your binding. So you're going to fold it in half and iron it. Okay. Right now I'm just going to finger press it just to show you. And then we're going to open it up and you're going to fold it again and fold the other side in where you're making what looks like this. I hope everybody can see that. And then ironing it with the steam iron is the best way to do this. Okay? And please do not use starch or any kind of scented starch or anything like that on these masks because people have to breathe through them. Just use steam, regular water, steam. And then you're going to fold it again and press again. And as you can see, then your tie is finished at the end. You won't have to tuck it in or anything. That's where we made that hem. Okay, so I'm going to go to the iron and I'm going to press this up and come back. Okay, I am back. I have all of my binding pressed for both sides. This is for one mask. Okay, and as you can see, I have folded it, and folded it in on itself again. So you're going to have a strip that's 1/2 inch wide when you are done. Okay, it's going to be 1/2 of an inch when it's all folded. Okay, right now it's open on this side, but that's okay because I'm going to show you how we're going to put this on the mask and sew it on and be done with it. And there is our hemmed edge that we sewed. Okay, let me grab the mask here and we'll get sewing that. Okay, so we have our face mask here and we have the clips. There they are. Things are getting lost here. I'm going to find the middle of this. Let's put the ends together. Find the middle. Going to make a bend in it. Put a clip on it. Okay, find the middle of your mask. Okay, by folding it in half. You can put a clip on it if you want to. Okay, you can put a clip on it there if you want. Once you fold it in half, that's your middle. Do the same for the other side. Sorry, I'm not a video maker normally. Now we're going to take the middle of our binding, okay, where the middle is. You can even give it a little finger press and open it up where that crease is. I'm opening it up there. I'm grabbing my mask middle and I'm matching up my mask, the middle of my mask with the middle of my open binding. Okay, so there's the middle of my binding and here's the middle of my mask. I'm opening up the binding and I'm putting the crease right on the edge and folding it over. So on each side you should have an equal amount of this binding. Okay, see how that goes? You can even just lay it on the inside if you want and fold it over. whatever technique you find the easiest. I clip them. I love clips when I can use them. So we're going to clip them. Okay. Good. They're going to do the next side. Okay, whatever works for you for clipping these on, but you want to get the straps, the center of the strap on the center of the mask, so there's equal ties, top and bottom of the mask. All right, so there's the center again. I'm going to lay it down, open it up if you want to do it this way. It's another way you can do it. There's my center. Maybe even find a little mark on your mat, and then take your clip off where the center is there and lay it right down. Okay, so I'm laying the edge right in the center of that folded binding and folding it over. And you'll find what way works best for you. And by the end time you make 24 or 30 of these masks, you'll have it down to a science. You'll be able to make a mask in 15 minutes. Okay, so we're going to go to the sewing machine, and we are going to sew starting on one end of the strip, as close as you can get. I'm usually getting about 1/8 of an inch, maybe a little bit less than 1/8 of an inch from the open edge. Okay, because you want to be able to close these edges, and you're going to run the stitch right up over the mask. Make sure you're catching the bottom of the binding as well as the top. You don't want to be running your stitch off the edge of the binding and not catching your bottom. So take it in about 1/8 of an inch. Okay, and if you're 1/8 of an inch up here and you're right on the inside here, all flushed up, then you should be catching the bottom too. So run it 1/8 of an inch. Keep on going all the way to the end, and again, you won't have to finish that in because it's already hemmed, and sew it right off the edge. Do both sides, and I'll be back. Okay, I am back, and I have sewn my ties on. And as you can see, we caught the fabric on either side. Okay, sewing 1/8 of an inch from the edge, closing the binding tie up, and there you have it. These masks are to be worn with the fins down. Okay, let me flip it over. The front should be that the wider part is the top of the mask, and the shorter mask is the bottom, and the fins should be facing downward towards your mouth. Okay, the fins should not be facing the other way. They should be facing downward. Okay, like they're closed. So when the mask goes on, it's going to open up like this. Okay, now remember, use good quality quilter's cotton. Pre-wash it if you can. Try and use a detergent that doesn't have a scent to it, or is like a clean, clear detergent. And if you do not have anything like that, use a minimal amount of detergent and do an extra rinse. Use new fabric for these and have fun doing them. When I have to sit and do a whole bunch of ties, I turn a little movie on, I cut a bunch of my tie strips, and I iron all my ties and get a whole bunch of them. And then I kind of do it like an assembly line. First I'll do all the pleating or the cutting of the fabric, then I'll do all the pleating and sew the edges, and I do it in an assembly line, and it seems to go much faster that way. So there you go, have fun. These are N95 dust mask covers. They are really not protection just to be used by themselves. They are definitely not 100% protection, but if you have a cough and you've got nothing else to use, by all means put one of these on your face to at least contain your cough. That's okay, but they are not protection by themselves. They will offer some protection from you touching your face and things like that. I guess a reminder. It is more to protect other people from your cough. So if you're going to just use them alone, please know that they're not 100% protection against any kind of virus in the air. Okay? All right, have fun with it. Make a whole bunch and donate them to your healthcare providers if they're accepting them. Take care. Thank you.